And joining me in the studio now from the Kenny Group, Richard. How are you, Richard?
Well, thanks, Daryl.
Beautiful. Now, Richard, we're going to talk about wills. Now, I'm thinking a lot of people listening to us this morning may not have a will or may not have updated their will recently. Why is it important that we have a will?
Look, a lot of people haven't updated their wills. Statistics show that some 50% of people don't have wills, and it's very important to be able to control your assets and your estate through to your family through the creation of a will.
Yeah, so when we pass away, we want our wishes to be carried on, as according to this. But if we don't have a will, it doesn't happen that way, does it?
No, you don't control your estate. And for most people, they do want to know what happens to their estate and who gets what.
So when should we look at, if we don't have a will, we should get one. But when we have a will, how often should we update it, Richard?
About every 5 years. Circumstances change. You might buy property, start a business.
Yep.
Raise a family.
Yep, okay.
Or any of the other side of things.
So any time you have a significant change in your family situation, you probably should revisit your will and make sure that it's all up to date and all good.
That's right.
If we don't, what can happen?
Well, if you don't have a will, you may not be doing justice to your family.
Okay.
So, and that can lead into other issues where challenges may arise if a family member is not satisfied with what...
See, that gets into a bit of a nasty area, doesn't it? We don't want this to happen, do we?
You definitely don't want this to happen, so it's a good idea to try to minimise any risk of challenges to your estate. You don't want conflict to arise after you pass on.
Yeah, well, the last thing you want is for there to be, family trouble after you've gone. You want everything to be sort of sorted and organised. But we must have an updated will for this to happen, mustn't we?
Well, that's right. So the better prepared you are, the more relevant the will is, the less challengeable it's likely to be.
So, for example, if we've got couples out there, young couples who may have just bought their first home, now is a good time to go and revisit the will. If they don't have one, get one happening, because this is an issue now. So they might not have thought about it. If you're a young couple buying a house, you're not thinking about the end of your life. It's the beginning of your life. So this is a good time to start, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah. Then, of course, when we have a family, that's the time to go back and look at it.
Oh, very much so. So you really, from the age of 18 onwards, it's time to start thinking about a will, and that need only increases as you.
So we move along the scale a bit, and people or couples who are ready to retire, that's probably another good point where they need to look at their will and make sure it's all up to date and all going the way they want it to.
Oh, very much so, because at that stage of life, they are slowing down. They are taking advices on financial matters and structuring their.
Now, Richard, does it take a long time to do a will?
It depends on the circumstance. There are different types of wills.
Yeah.
A simple will might take an hour or so to take instructions.
So it's not going to take days of your time. You just pop in, you see somebody, you make sure everything's order. If it's a straightforward sort of situation, usually pretty good.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's a pretty straightforward procedure.
And of course, you can do it yourself, but then it's always good to get the advice from an expert, isn't it?
A lawyer will give you advice on all the implications, all the risks. They have the knowledge of such things as challenges as well.
And I suppose when you look at it in today's family situations, for as many numbers as there are different family situations. So there's always a different situation for people to look at.
Case by case.
Exactly. So, you might have an extended family, you might have a disjointed family. So it probably pays to make sure that everything's in order as far as a will goes, yeah?
That's right.
All right. Well, if you want to get your will in order, see Richard and the crew at the Kenny Group, and they will look after you. Richard, thank you for coming in and sharing that with us.
Thank you very much, Daryl.